Hello everyone, this is Thomas Dakan Tabik-Mavok, Senior English and French teacher, professional translator and reviser, author of the book titled De la sémantique à la traduction. In this video, we are going to discuss how to build capacities in legal translation. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please, I advise you to do so in order not to miss all the discussion that we are holding in this channel. Legal translation is a very challenging translation because law is not a subject that everybody master. And the problem is that in our translation school, it is not, as I put it in one of my video, it is not always easy to find lawyers who come to study translation. The same thing applies to linguists. It is not always, it is almost impossible to have linguists with a background in law. So this makes legal translation a very challenging exercise. All the same, we are trying to put forward something new based on our research. We are trying to help translator, be it student translators or professional translators. We are trying to give them the tools, to give them advice in terms of how to be successful in legal translation. One of the greatest problem in legal translation is that we find ourselves with various texts coming from two different legal systems. If we consider, for instance, English and French, we see that English legal text are common law text, and as we know, common law is rooted in judicial precedent and case law, which are actually the primary source of law, whereas French legal text belong to the civil law system, which rest on legal codes, regulation derived from the Roman law. This is one of the first point which makes legal translation a very challenging exercise. But the question is how to proceed in order to be successful in legal translation. What I can advocate here is that the first thing we should do to be successful in legal translation is to practice regularly, because practice makes perfect. The more you translate legal text, the more you become familiar with legal terminology and legal phraseology. As you translate, you become familiar with legal phraseology, and this is how you can master what legal translation is all about. So that's the first thing. And when we talk about legal phraseology, we are thinking about comparative law. So one of the point here is that we have to do a kind of comparative law. But this comparative law will not be focused on the content, because it is very much difficult to say that we can master law, because even lawyers cannot tell you that they know everything about law, because we have different types of law. We have constitutional law, we have administrative law, we have international law, we have public law, we have family law, property law, tort law, contract law. So it is not easy to say that we are going to sit down, or we are going to register in a law school to study and to master all of this law. So as a translator, as translators, we have to make sure that we know something about law, because we have to translate legal text. And for us to do this comparative law, as I said it earlier, we are not going to focus on content. We are going to focus on phraseology. So this is where our comparative law starts. When I say comparative law, we are going to take, for instance, contract law and study the phraseology which is proper to contract law. What are the key concepts? What are the key concepts in contract law, both in English and French? And we have to make sure that we memorize this. And the only way we can memorize this is by translating legal text which deal with contract law. So the first point is that our comparative law is rooted in comparing phraseology, legal phraseology, both in English and French, in terms of, for instance, contract law. That is the first point. The second point is when we compare two legal system, we have to look at the structure of this system. The structure of this system. If we take, for instance, court decision or court ruling, we have to be able to identify the different component of a court ruling. And we can ask such questions like, what are the main component of a judicial decision? When we look at the structure in common law, which is rooted in judicial precedent and case law, what are the different components of a court ruling? What are the different components of a court ruling which is part of civil law? Now, when we identify this component, what are the information which we find in this component? If we take, for instance, a court ruling, we know that we have a component like the heading or the title. What is the information included in the title? What is the information included in the fact of the case? How is this information crafted? How is it drafted? What are the tenses which are used? What are the writing techniques? What are the writing techniques? What are the in terms of structure? When we compare a ruling decision from common law, is it lengthy? Is it argumentative? Is it short compared to that of the civil law system, which is French law? So these are some of the things that we have to underscore when it's come to comparative law. So in a nutshell, what I can say here is that one of the things that we have to do in order to build capacity in legal translation is comparative law. And we are not comparing law in terms of the content, because this will be a very challenging exercise, as law embodies different subdomains which we may not master. So we are looking at comparative law here in terms of phraseology, in terms of key concept under a specific type of law, as I put it for instance, as I put it concerning, for instance, contract law or tort law. So we are looking at key concept. What are the key concepts in both systems? If we take, for instance, court decision, what are the different components? How are they drafted? What are the tenses used? What is the terminology, the frequent terminology? Because we have to know that legal language thrives on ordinary language, but there are some specific terms which are proper to legal language which we need to master. And for us to master this term, we have to translate regularly. And as reference, we can advise this book by Gérard Cornu. The book was published in 1987. The book is titled Vocabulaire juridique. In that book, Gérard Cornu is a huge book, more than 1,000 pages. Gérard Cornu addresses many issues related to law, as well as legal phraseology in French. So this is a very good reference that we can use in order to become familiar with legal terminology. That is what we can say about comparative law and about building capacities in legal translation. I hope that this video has been insightful. Please don't forget to subscribe if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, and leave your comment in case you have one. And please, I beg your pardon, correct me if I'm wrong after this discussion. Thank you very much for watching.